Before we get started today, I just wanted to quickly mention the newest drop going live on the Sleeves Chief website at 8 p.m. Central European Time today. Basically, you guys were able to vote for which sleeves are going to get created by Sleeves Chief, and what was chosen was Visas Starfrost and the entire Visas universe, and I think the design looks really sick. So if you were maybe amongst those people voting for the Visas sleeves, or if you just think they are really dope, which they are, make sure to snatch them up on the Sleeves Chief website. You can use my link in the description box below, which really helps the channel, and you can get 5% off your entire order by using code SHADOW at checkout. Alright, so the German Nationals just took place, and it was a highly anticipated event with more than 2,000 players coming together to play it, and we need to talk about what happened. So before we get started, I want to encourage you to like the video if you liked it. It really lets me know that you like me doing these event breakdowns, and of course share your thoughts. Were you maybe there? How did you do? What do you think of the deck breakdown and overall such a big event taking place in the new ban list and what this means for the future? I'm honestly excited. I think the format isn't horrible. There's a couple unhealthy things still taking place, and we are going to see by the top 32 representation that Kashtira is still quite dominant, which might not be as great. Not many people like this from what I'm seeing, but the deck is still a very good choice, so people still tend to pilot it. It just makes the most sense, and that's why it's also seeing representation, because the ban list didn't necessarily hinder it to the point where it couldn't be played anymore. And we can clearly see this with 32% representation. And then we have Life Twin Runic Sprite. Pretty much from how I understand this is supposed to be like any kind of variant of sprites, at least the way I view this, like for hire, all of that. And it makes sense, 25% representation for any kind of variant of these three engines mashed up together, or just Life Twin Sprite or whatever. Like I said, it makes sense because Sprite is a very good contender right now, especially with the addition of Runic. Pretty much anything Runic is also going to be doing well at this point in time. And yeah, like this entire breakdown just makes a lot of sense. The next thing that's really interesting to me is Labyrinth taking 13%. And why I say it's interesting, it's because it hasn't really seen that much success at French and Danish nationals. Like, it was just kind of weird. It felt as though people were way too prepared for it, and right now it is only 13%, so it's not the highest representation, but it's still enough for it to have its own slot in top 32. And if you've seen the feature matches, for example, the top 8 feature match with Labyrinth against Rika, where the Rika player actually decided to send Labyrinth first, and then they used evenly matched, but Dinka, the opponent, left the Daruma Karma Cannon face down on the field, and when he used it in the perfect spot, it just managed to shift the game entirely. And that's just what Labyrinth does. You know, there are floodgates. We've seen this as well, and people did complain about it. If you look at the chat, which I understand that the deck plays floodgates, and I feel like that's just something we're gonna have to deal with as opposed to hate on. Like, it's just part of the deck, and the deck is part of the meta. So we should just stop whining and like deal with it. I know it's annoying. I dislike it as well, but it's just the way it is. I don't know. I just really dislike the negativity surrounding it. But it is kind of unhealthy if you look at all of these floodgates. Something like skill drain should probably be addressed. And on the topic of floodgates, if you have seen one of the matches in Swiss, for example, at one point Anti-Spell was flipped in the match Kashtira vs Pearly, which Pearly ended up winning the entire match, but Anti-Spell did shift everything once it was flipped face up. So all in all, floodgates should probably be addressed in some kind of way. And carrying on with the top 32, Rika Sanavalon and Branded Aspia both have 6% representation, and I like that Rika is quite high up there. And if we look at top 4 also, there's Rika, Kashtira, Vanquish Soul, and Labyrinth. And Vanquish Soul was knocked out in top 4 as well as Rika, so the finals ended up being Kashtira versus Labyrinth. And in the end, Labyrinth took it. So I think that's cool, because not every single of the 3 events post-ban list was taken or won by Kashtira. People can stop complaining just for a tiny bit, because there's always going to be people saying that we are still in the last format, Kashtira is still way too oppressive. I don't think that's the case. Pretty much like Kashtira is good, it's seeing results and it makes sense. And when the ban list comes in the fall, they are going to address it after they, you know, get all the reprints sold and all of that. And also people picked up the cards. They want to have some time to play Kashira. It was a very expensive deck. And to me, the ban list made sense. So it makes sense that Kashira is also still performing. Labyrinth taking it, I think, is really cool because it was kind of like, it just felt like it fell off just immediately post the ban list with no results at French nationals. But still, you know, this was kind of just a one-time thing in my opinion. I think Labyrinth, if piloted well and if the cards chosen for the build are correct for the event, I feel like the deck is able to go far, and this was proved by Dinka Boy becoming the German national champion, and with all his past accolades, he managed to add this in 2023 on top of it, and I think that's just really, really cool. And like I said before, Rika getting as far as it did, I think is really nice because we were always talking about Rika. I mentioned it in every single one of my tier lists. The deck is nice, it's underrated, it's a good combo deck, and I think it's cool that people are seeing success with it post the ban list. There are so many other decks that are able to compete, and I just mentioned Vanquish Soul. It managed to get to top 4, and consistently Vanquish Soul is seeing decent results. Like, someone makes it almost every single time, and I think that's just really, really nice to see. And speaking of like Branded Despia, for example, like, it wasn't everyone's top choice, you know, just from talking to people, it seems like Despia is kind of in a very weird spot. Ashe is in the format, and it just, when people are way too prepared for it, and the deck also has its weaknesses, it's way too hard to play Despia. But still, you know, Branded has 6% representation, so I think that's very decent, as well as Rika. And just going through my notes, I have a couple like cool things to mention when it comes to Swiss. Some of the most notable victories on stream go to Gay Guardian, Blackwing, Dino, Kashtira Speedroid, Pearly, and overall just Dragon Link Bishio variants. They managed to do well on the feature match, and I wish I could have more of a breakdown when it comes to other decks in top 32, so I will have more content when it comes to the German nationals and just overall deck lists and all of that coming soon, but I just wanted to do a quick recap right now post the event. And also a couple decks I want to mention before we round this video off. There was Kurikara. We have also seen Evenly have big impact on stream. We have seen Thrust, we have seen Talents, and together with Talents we've also seen Ashe and some other hand traps, although for the most part we have been seeing like just power spell cards, those kinds of going second cards, which are also good going first. We've seen Book of Moon, we've seen Enemy Controller and things like that. And like I mentioned before, the Daruma Karma Cannon really put in work. So pretty much everything that flips stuff face down is going to be nice right now. This is it for the tech cards. That's pretty much what we have been expecting, but it is still a showing as to how you can build your deck going into Euros and also the NAWCQ. And also seeing some of these decks do well in Swiss and on feature matches, I think goes to show that you can pretty much play almost anything if you really build the deck properly for the event you're going for, and if you test a lot. You have to be ready for all the matchups, and you kind of just need to take into consideration that when you choose a deck, some matchups it's going to be better against than some other ones, so then you're gonna have to mitigate that by building your deck a bit differently. And I think it's interesting. I think the format isn't unhealthy, it just there's a couple of things that are kind of problematic, but for the most part I feel like good deck building and just choices can be rewarded, even though it's a bit hard because the format is still very, very diverse. So with that, like I said, I'm gonna have more content up for you guys so you can really get prepared for Euros and also the NAWCQ. And yeah, if you like this video, please make sure to like it, and also let me know all your thoughts in the comments down below. Check out all the social media, check out Sleeve Chief, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye. Mech Knight was also on stream, and at that point it was 6-2. It got demolished on stream though, but I guess I wanted to mention it. It's still not a good deck though.